Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's webinar, Forage for Colours, with my friend Joanna. This is our 21st webinar. I discovered Charnwood Foraging online, despite the fact that Jo lives only about 7 minutes from my house. I found her online before I found her in our hometown. But I have actually witnessed this webinar before because we did it where was it? In Gloucester in South Leicestershire a week or two ago. So I know that you're all in for a treat. What Jo doesn't know about foraging isn't worth knowing, in my opinion, and you're all in for a treat tonight. So I'm going to hand you over, and Jo, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I don't think that that's quite right. There is thousands of people who know a lot more than I do about foraging, but I hopefully know a few bits that hopefully will interest people on this call today. So you actually rightly pointed out I have changed the picture. I probably did. But if you look at the picture, pretty much every flower in that is edible. And we used that in one of the team buildings as a prize, and the lady who got it started eating it straight off, which was rather funny. So allow me a couple seconds, maybe even minute, on what Charnwood Foraging is and what we do. So with all our events, we support the Leicestershire Woodland Wildlife Trust with sort of fuel, a part of fuel cost goes towards them, but also we encourage people to bring some nature-related products, and then people can donate to the charity apart from buying tickets for the actual event. So we do foraging with children. So we take them as long as they can kind of walk and talk, so they can ask the parents whether it's okay to put something in their mouth. They are quite popular because the kids really love to learn and explore and taste. We bring lots of very tasty samples. So foraging for adults, courses with food samples, they are just as popular as the kids ones. And for those who probably don't want to pay the price with the samples, they can join us just for identification walk. They are not as prepared, but we just take people out to the woodlands, meadows, and just walk and look at what we see and identify what we can. Like lots of people on this call know, sometimes you just can't identify everything while you are out in the field. And we do something called Fungi Expert Experience for those who really want to get into the fungi studies, like lots of people here already are. But we then actually finish the day with our microscope and showing people some spores and how to measure them in real life. And really, the money making side of the business is the team building for corporate organizations, which are fun, good learning, and people always give us a very good feedback. So overall, we really try to reach people across all ages and physical abilities and create the community of people who are happy because they're spending time in the nature. So on that quick intro, now it will be a little bit interactive while it's online, which will be fun because I've never done it like this before. So on Earth, we have around 400,000 species of plants. So how many do you think we could eat as humans? Any guesses? And I don't see the messaging, so Sarah needs to read them for me.
If you type it in the messages, and then I will read your estimates out. Okay. Anna is guessing 200,000.
Oh, that's a
Oh
good
no,
guess.
sorry. Hang on. Hang on. Tanya's saying 250,000.
Quarter of a
Peter,
million. Wow, there are really knowledgeable people here.
okay, about 20% of that, Peter seems to think.
Okay, sounds like people are very
Half.
close to reality.
Humans eat
So we could
10%.
actually eat some 300,000 species. So, however, as humans, how many do we actually eat globally?
Okay.
So what numbers are we getting now?
Peter's saying 2%.
Oh my goodness, 2% of what? Of 300,000? Just
20,000.
20,000? Okay.
10,000. Ruth thinks 10,000.
10,000?
Dagmar thinks just
Which was
250.
50. Ooh, somebody is getting close. So actually it's
1%.
200. Yeah?
200. Wow. Okay.
So only 200. And out of that, about half of it is just kind of down to three: maize, rice, and wheat. So that really doesn't help the whole global ecosystem when the whole planet relies just on so many limited plants on the planet. So hopefully today you will pick up some little skills and knowledge, and maybe just introduce the odd something different. And when I have done the talk enough times, then maybe there will be a million people who replace one bag of spinach, and therefore there will be X many wagons load less coming to our supermarket. That's really my goal in life now. So the next question on you, we will be going through different colors throughout the night. So the first colors are a little bit mixed because I only have 1 hour, and it starts by asking you a little question. So do you know what was the color of the wedding dress in 1820? That will be our first color. Any
Like
guesses?
it. Carolyn thinks red.
Okay, nice. I wish.
Cream. Dinah thinks cream.
Green.
Katie thinks black. Dagmar thinks blue.
Black. Somebody said black. Well done. Actually, it was black. So it wasn't until the Queen Victoria 1840, when she married Prince Albert, that she introduced the culture of white dresses. So until then, most brides would kind of wear black because that was the one posh dress they would have. They would wear it for a christening, to go to church, to Sunday, to go to hospital, or those special days in their lives. So only one dress, which was considered posh and needed to suit all occasions. So after black, the white came with the Queen Victoria. So these first colors, we will look at both: the black, which sort of symbolizes elegance and sophistication, and white, the color of purity and innocence. So the black, of course, the blackberries, everybody know, the bramble bushes, which are kind of festering probably most of your woodlands, I would say, where it's then hard to actually go for a nice, lovely woodland walk because everywhere are brambles. So there are a couple of stories connected with brambles. So, for example, if you walk alone and the bramble catches you, that means your guy, your sort of partner, will definitely be faithful to you. So I always say my husband must be very faithful because I have destroyed so many of my clothes because I got caught on the brambles in my foraging adventures. Also, people use it to bewitch neighbors' cows. So if they didn't like the neighbor, they would tangle the bramble into the cow's tail, and that meant that the cow would stop producing milk. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't think I would be producing a lot of milk if every time I try to splash away some fly, I would beat myself with a bramble. There's a lot of official history, unofficial history, but in the old Irish law, it was actually against the law to chop down some of the brambles. So if you did that, you would be punished. So imagine. And these days, we of course let them grow. Sometimes we chop them, but we enjoy mainly the lovely blackberries, which everybody knows. So they have lots of vitamin C's. They are great, of course, for other uses. So, for example, in spring, you can forage for the leaves, dry those leaves, and then use them as a tea, which then helps you with sort of diarrhea, coughs, any upper sort of respiratory disorders you may have. Be careful because the thorns are also on the bottom part of the leaf. So if you're foraging for them, wear gloves and cut them with scissors. But otherwise, a lovely, of course, well-known plant. A little bit less well known, hopefully, maybe at least as a forager's tree, is a mahonia, alias Oregon grape. So the berries, of course, it's a little tricky to find actually a black color in the nature. But if you like rub those berries a little bit, you can see on some of the picture, they are quite dark. With mahonia, it has actually two uses for us as a forager. So the flowers are edible, and the berries are edible too, and they kind of symbolizes that healing because you have the yellow flowers, sort of that that care, but they come on those thorny leaves, so you need to be careful when you're foraging for them, which symbolizes the defense, both care and defense being needed if you want to cure yourself. It was also a state color in the state on the state of Oregon. It was on their flag, so very very well known plant there. It has lots of vitamins, and yet people don't eat it much these days. People are always very surprised you can eat that. So of course in winter there is not a lot that flowers. So I don't recommend you foraging for the flowers in volume. The flavor gets lost, but also we need to leave as much as we can in winter months for the wildlife. But I do challenge you, please do try one or two of those lovely flowers. They taste like orange, so it is a beautiful discovery when you are out there. And then, of course, if you leave the flowers on, you will be rewarded by gorgeous berries. And those berries, yes, they are a little tart to eat raw. You can only eat them in moderation, really, but you can make lovely jams from it. I don't know whether you can see that, but it does make kind of a really good, nice color if you look at this. Yeah, it's that flavor, taste. Mm, mm, mm. I can't just get enough of this. Oh, so it's a little bit, maybe a little bit like current, if you like. So I definitely recommend you to try. Never forage for roots because the roots contain berberine, but we should not forage for roots in this country anyway. As you all know, you are a woodland people. We are only allowed to forage for 4Fs in any public space unless there is some local law that stops you from doing that. 4Fs being flowers, fruit, fungi, and foliage. So as you can see, there is no root. It's a fruit, not fruit. So therefore, roots are out of the question. We cannot dig things out, even dandelions and things like that. Do not dig them out in a public land. You would be breaking the law. Now a little black mushroom, if you like. It's really hard to demonstrate this without you actually being able to touch it. But these little shrivel up things which you can see on that branch, very often in summer you would not nearly see them how shriveled they are if it's dry. But then in winter you can see on the other hand how they kind of expand and big, you can nearly see those veins on them. That's why they are called jelly ears. In America, they call them wood ears because they grow in the woodlands. They grow predominantly on elder, occasionally on other things, but elder is what they love the most. And for those who wants to forage for food, then really these are the easy rules to follow. It grows on elder and it hangs down, then you know, and it looks like the jelly ear, then you know you have a jelly ear and not some poisonous pezisa, which would be a cup kind of hanging upwards. So be careful, of course, if it's a branch on the ground that nobody been there before you and turn it around. So before you get familiar with the mushroom, make sure you forage just from the dying trees. It's fantastic mushroom for hydrating and rehydrating. So they actually, when they are shriveled up in summer, with first rain they will hydrate again and start reproducing again. So it's a very resilient mushroom, and we reproduce that process with cooking. So it's very popular in Asian cooking. Lots of stews would have jelly ears because they absorb anything you soak them in. Quite popular when I do my courses with the samples is where I rehydrate them in some sort of orange juice, or maybe for adults in a vodka or gin, and make some crisps with them. Once you rehydrate them, you need to cut them in pieces and strips because otherwise they explode, and then put them in the oven under the grill. Just grill them and you end up with fantastic, very healthy crisps. So another one you can easily identify and try. So the next question on you is with the color white. Anybody can count the number of petals on this. And just to make it easier, is it 5 or 10? What are we getting, Sarah?
Sandra says
Have we
5.
lost anyone?
Carolyn says 5.
Caroline says
Uh,
5. Okay.
Everybody is saying 5. Peter's saying 5. Dan
Oh, they are
5.
just too good. Of course, 5. Of course, you're looking around the nature. But believe me, not many people see 5. Everybody's just that high level count 10. They don't realize that it is 5 and really deeply, deeply loved. This plant, do you know this plant, by the way? It's a chickweed. It's common. It grows even probably in between your flower pots in the garden, not just outdoor. It's very, very tiny. So if you can just see how small the flowers are compared to my nail, you can see it's very hard to actually see those petals. But this plant, you can make lovely pesto. The whole year round, it pretty much grows. And if you want, you can eat this raw. It's really good for you, full of vitamin C, vitamin A. So, fantastic edible which you can add to your dishes pretty much any time of the year, unless it's under the snow. And you will not just get the vitamins, you also get all that calcium, magnesium, potassium, iron, you name it. It's just one of those amazing plants which is well worth adding to your diet. Rowan is another one. Why do I put it in white? Because not many people actually forage for the white flowers. So the rowan is more well known for the berries, which I have put there in the picture, and you can just see on that one sort of the star shape where the berry is ending. It's actually a pentagon. So that was associated with the old druids and several other cultures as magic meaning. So hence the rowan tree was associated with lots of magical powers and protecting against witchcrafts. In some sources, it actually says that's where the witches used to live. So as usual, all this witches here, witches there, everything is against witches. Uh, it was also a tree which the old Celtic tradition said that the woman came from a rowan tree, and therefore it was used to carve out little protective amulets because it had that protecting power for the travelers to go around. So a very, very interesting plant, but the white thing is actually a gorgeous thing to forage for if you want to make yourself a sort of almond smelling lovely flavor syrups or cordial. It's one of the plants that actually the flavor and smell will last if you don't overboil it, which I don't with my syrups. And it's very easy to forage for because lots of the branches will hang down and you just chop a couple of those big cluster of flowers, and it's so easy to collect enough in a short space of time. It again has lots of vitamins, antioxidants, and other things. So why not try next year? And if you want, even this year, the berries itself, you can make yourself really a lovely gem. Don't know whether you can see it. Sort of course, it's more a hard jelly rather than a jam. So this one is mixed with crab apples, so it would solidify. And it's not very sweet. It kind of starts with little bit like um something like a bitter apple, but it has a little bit of sweetness to it, so it's quite interesting flavor. Unless you of course overkill it with sugar, then you lose all the natural flavorness. But it's something that works on you, so it's well worth trying and see whether it might be something you like. So do not eat these berries raw. Now a little white mushroom. So we have lots of people who forage for mushrooms on this call, so they will all understand how precious this gorgeous St. George mushroom is. It appears supposedly around beginning of April, sort of 23rd of April, but I think we all hunt for it after winter, and there's always this, I found my first. And this year was absolutely horrible because there just was no rain at the time of the year, so the few the people found were really shriveled up and not very good. But for the people who were lucky, they this is a very fair mushroom. So you can actually, I have deliberately cut it there in half so you can see how thick the flesh is compared to the gills. And you can sort of see when you're trying to identify mushrooms, you very often need to learn how the gills are attached to the stem. So this is the picture that sort of mimics that it's sort of notched, and that's one of the different attachments you can look at when you're looking for mushrooms and identifying them. Of course, once you know them, the smell for this mushroom is very, very distinct, which really helps you. And if you look at the color, I introduce it as white, but it's really a little bit a milky coffee. So be careful. Sometimes at that time of the year, something that's similar but a little bit grayish can appear. So do not go for gray. If anything, if it's not white, it needs to be like a milky coffee. And when you do forage for it, it's amazing. Pickled, as you can see here, that's my prized precious possession that will probably never get opened. I will just eat the others. This mushroom has no ring on the stem, which is another key identification. And when you cut it, there is no discoloration of that flesh. It remains the same color. So you need to be rather careful because the deadly fiber cup, if you cut it, the gills will bruise red. So that's will be quite easy to recognize and see. Our next color, what do you think it is? Is any suggestion coming in?
Okay, we've got green from Carolyn, green from Ruth. Sandra says
Oh.
green. I think the answer's green.
Of course, everybody knows the song. Well done. Of course, green. Green is the color of nature, growth, and balance. And how could we do a foraging talk without green? Funny that there's something called a green blindness in the forager's world, where lots of people, before they actually start looking around themselves, they just don't recognize any plants because everything is just green and that's all their brain can take. So over time, people suddenly start walking in the meadows and go sorrel, this and that. But until that point, it's just green. So hopefully, we will identify a couple green, fantastic edibles after today. So this is one of my kind of probably the most favorite green vegetable, if you like, because it has so many versatile uses. So you have the hawkweed. Lots of people get really scared about the giant hawkweed. I think I have another slide which just shows how the giant hawkweed looks like. And later on, I'll give you a link to my social media. So I made a video which compares the leaves and the two plants next to each other, one on top of each other, so you can really see. But key idea for the common hawkweed is you need to look at the leaf and they must be hairy. Yeah. So hawkweed, hairy, both begin with H in this case. That's good for you. So what you want to eat is those stems and those leaves, but you cannot eat them raw, never. You should cook this plant because it is still kind of a sister of the horrible giant hawkweed, where the sap, if you touch it, it just gives you several degrees of burns if you just get that sap touching your skin. So really, really worry about that plant. But for some people who are more sensitive, even if you're foraging for common hawkweed first time, maybe try using gloves, and it goes for dandelions as well. Actually, some people can develop sort of allergic reaction even to the sap from the dandelion. So the next thing you can actually eat on the hawkweed is those little green turrets. My favorite is before that flower actually open, when that's big bud. It's so sort of fibrous and really nicely soft. I actually have some in the freezer for the whole year round use because it's so nice. I don't know how I would live throughout winter without having any of this, because it's just such a lovely, unique flavor. It's used in Russia in something called borscht. I don't know whether many of you travel to Eastern Europe. I'm from Czech Republic, so the borscht we used to kind of make quite a lot when we were kids because we were introduced to it from our neighbors. And it doesn't end with this plant there. So when the flowers are gone, you end up with some lovely seeds, and you can actually see the seeds about still now. They are flat, So when you're going around umbellifers, the seeds from hawkweed are flat. Can see flat seed. So these seeds, when you collect them, you want to collect them when they are still green and juicy, and then roast them, and then keep them roasted like this, and just before using them, ground them. They taste a little bit like cardamom, so you can actually try to eat them just as they are, like this as a seed. But if you do something with them, lots of people use them in baking, and I put them in something called Charnwood Foraging signature chocolate. Yeah, I already started, husband. Bye.
Yeah. I've had one of these chocolates and they are great. I snuck one at the
Yes,
webinar 2 weeks ago, even though they were for the customers.
yes. Thanks, Sarah. Yes, so it's really hard to kind of go how gorgeous these chocolates are until you really have them on your own tongue, kind of melting. So I add a little bit of raisins and, of course, the hawkweed seeds, and they are gorgeous, I hope. Sarah, were they okay?
Yeah, I didn't want to be greedy, otherwise I would have pocketed a few more, but they were really good. Really good.
Bless you. So, a few words about the giant hawkweed. So giant hawkweed is of course extremely dangerous. It was introduced to this country by Victorians because they love to look at it. You know, those leaves are really gigantic, and the flowers are gigantic. Uh, Common hawkweed can be taller than me, and I'm like 6 foot. So do not think that as soon as it's sort of 1.5 meter, 2 meters nearly, that you automatically have a giant hawkweed. Common hawkweed in a good condition can grow quite high as well, but it will never have more than 24 umbels. And I would hope that giant hawkweed would actually never end up seeding, because somebody should spot it and actually alert the council, who then sends people in full PPE to try to eliminate it. But there were sites that actually allotments closed down because they just couldn't eliminate the plant, and it was seen as too dangerous for leaving the plant growing and allowing people anywhere near it. Wherever you are, I am in Loughborough, but I hear like Colville has still some parks where it's like giant hawkweed, do not go this way. So it is quite common in our area. So if you find something huge, very shiny, and it will have blotches on the stem, very often develop, which kind of tells you, hey, this is a blood dropping on me. If you touch me, there will be dead. So if you see that warning, please do not approach that plant and just approach the right authorities. That's the TikTok slash YouTube, etc. So if you want to watch that one uh, with the real life showing, please do so. So green, this one might be surprising. We all know these helicopters, but you can actually supposedly leave them under your pillow and then it will prevent bad dreams. Not sure whether that works, but certainly lots of people throughout the history believe all sorts of traditions like that. Today, we can, of course, use them as sort of sources of omega 3, 6, 9, and we have completely forgotten about them. They just grow and we walk underneath them. But you can pickle these. You need to boil them for quite a while. It is a process of several changes of water. So this is not a quick hooray, I am from the wood and I can eat it raw. You could try some, and I have had some every now and again. They are not bitter, and you can actually try them if they are really young, but very quickly they do go bitter, and they do need quite a few changes of water to get remove that tannin. But if you do that, you can then sort of pickle them, boil them, roast them, as you like. So lots of uses of a common sycamore, which I don't think many people actually forage for at the moment. And let's have a mushroom, because there always needs to be a mushroom in the right color. There is quite a few green mushrooms actually. So we have, for example, a parrot wax caps, which is quite nice and green. But it is a mushroom which is a psilocybe. So I will not be showing it because I don't want to encourage any youngsters running around foraging for that on top of trying to find a liberty cap. So instead, I'm showing a lovely edible. So this Rusula is kind of what we call a brittle gill family, and this is the only one that actually breaks the rule of the brittle gills. So for those of you who are not very familiar with the foraging, we always try to kind of look at the key features of the mushroom to then narrow it down to certain family or even a genus. And some of those key features are easy, some of them are very difficult. With brittle gills, as the title says, the gills, which are underneath the mushroom, they are quite brittle. So if you run your finger over them, like it goes click, 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 and they all break in half. Yeah. And so once you have tried that, you always recognize the Rusula. There is no ring on the stem. There is no vulva that the stem is growing from. And there is no milk. If you touch it, you would have if there was a milk, you would have a milk cup. So there's no milk, and it has a special structure to it. So if you like peel like break off the cup, you can see a little bit there. It breaks, like they say, like a little lump of sugar. It doesn't. It's not the sort of typical mushroom which you kind of would struggle to break. This one really cluck and breaks. The stem itself, if you like put your nail into the stem, it little bit feels like putting the nail into an apple. That's the best description. But basically, once you like seen and been through one Rusula and tried all these features, you will then recognize Rusula every time. So why do I go on about it so much? Because with Rusulas, once you know you have a Rusula, the best way to find out whether it's edible or not in this country is do an edibility test. Some are very hot, so I don't recommend you going ham and crawling at the whole mushroom. The edibility test is that you actually take very tiny bit, put it kind of between your teeth. You don't swallow it, you just hold it there, and with the tip of your tongue, you're trying to taste what the taste is, just like crunching it between the teeth, and it's the saliva, chewing that piece. Take time with the mushrooms because not every taste happens immediately. So keep rolling it on the tongue for maybe even 30 seconds to be sure what the taste is. But if that's nice and you like the taste of it, then you have an edible mushroom. So it's a really, really easy family for the beginners to get on with. And as I said, probably the most difficult of all of those is this charcoal Rusula, because that one actually doesn't have that brittle gill. But once you know all the other Rusulas, it's pretty obvious. It also comes with all sorts of colors. So the green shape is what we call is olive shape. It's really just one shade of that Rusula. You can see also all the sort of purples, nearly yellowish, all still within the same charcoal burner. So don't be confused, but also don't misidentify. Different Rusulas could grow near each other, so don't just make assumptions that everything is the same mushroom. Any questions so far?
Ben just added that the stem of them it snaps almost like chalk.
Perfect. Oh, yes, that's a perfect description. Well done. Thanks, Ben. Excellent. So our next color, anybody can guess?
But what people have typed, red. Peter said red. Dagmar said red. Easy.
Everybody says red.
Yeah, of course.
So, of course, red, the color of passion, danger, and love. So, very often people keep asking me, oh, so every mushroom that's red is dangerous, and every berry that's red is dangerous. Well, sorry, there is no such rule in foraging for food. Some mushrooms can be red, and they are still perfectly edible. So, here is an example. Scarlet elf cup. Some people don't eat this mushroom because it's really much more pretty to just look at it than what the taste of the mushroom is. It's a mushroom that grows kind of straight after winter, end of winter, when really you can find it still surrounded by nearly the snow. And it's gorgeous. There is hardly anything else out there. And these little scarlet elk cups come. and it really looks like cups for little elves who are ready to dance around that it's spring coming. So there is actually two mushrooms that look visually very similar. So there's scarlet elf cup and ruby elf cup. And if you just look at them, you will not know which one you have. And several of the field guidebook actually reverse them from the Latin, from the scientific names as well. So it's kind of hard now to go back to and actually say which one is which. And without the microscope, good luck to you. You pretty much have no chance. But basically, one is quite common and the other one is very rare. And you shouldn't pick the rare ones. So, maybe you shouldn't pick the one that is common just to make sure you don't pick the rare ones. It's really okay flavor. Maybe try it once in your life, but then leave it to the nature and to the elves. So it's not toxic. You can eat it, but it's kind of tough. It just looks pretty on the plate, so it's worth having one meal in your life. Common hawthorn. Of course, we all know common hawthorn. And this is the one when I am doing it for the sort of U3As. They all remember because there's always the ladies who lived through the war. And they tell me, yes, you're right. My mother used to send me out to forage for hawthorn in spring. So when they didn't have any vitamins, there was nothing in the supermarkets. There were still rations, so people couldn't get what they wanted to eat. So the only source of vitamins was what they could get in the nature. So lots of them remember being sent out for what was called bread and cheese. So these lovely, gorgeous little leaves, when they are young and fresh, they would be a little bit lighter color. And then you put that leaf, take the flower, bend it, and you have like a little sandwich with the leaf and the flower inside. And it's just, fantastic snack if you're trying to introduce your kids to laugh and learn about nature. It's very easy to identify. If you want to really be sure, the leaf says it all, but also the little petals on the plant are kind of have like little pink hint to it. So it's also very beautiful to look at it when you going around close to the nature. It has some tradition and folklore as well, apart from warding off the evil spirits, which people used to hang it above their doors just to make sure no witches can come in. And then I always say it can't ward off all the evil spirits because I hang it above my door and husband still comes home every day. So I don't know. Uh, but in the old days, they would actually believe it so much so that for the wedding, they would build the wedding arch from the flowers and from the branches of hawthorn, just to make sure as they entering into the marriage, all the evil and bad spirits cannot follow them. So as they symbolically walk under the arch, all the evil is left behind. And if you kind of imagine the situation, those flowers are quite tender. So, of course, after a day or whenever they prepared it before the ceremony, the leaves or the petals would start wilting away. So then, with a little bit of the wind, all the petals start falling down. And as the couples go with little wind, the petals go. And we kind of have the tradition now where we're throwing confetti at people for good luck, but that's connected with that old tradition of being building wedding arches from hawthorn. So
Joe,
it's just fascinating. Sorry.
you live in Loughborough and I live in the next village, Hathorn. Hathorn is called Hathorn because of I think he had like a ring of hawthorns around it, and he used to be called Wicked Hathorn. That's something to do with witches, though.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that, and you are around the corner from me. Oh, that's interesting. Let's see
Yeah,
whether we can find a circle of hawthorns around then.
yeah.
So it's actually a plant that you can eat the berries as long as you spit the pips. But to have any kind of flavor, you need to find them once they're juiced up a little bit. Don't go for them when they are shriveled and dry. You will just have a very non-exciting experience. But if you find nice juicy ones, then actually there is some flesh to bite onto before it just seeing the pit inside, and that's really really nice. And you can make all sorts of things with the berries itself. It's a little labor of love because you need quite a lot of them, and there is not a lot of flesh, so uh, you end up with not a very big jars. So you can see this one actually did solidify if you look at the structure. It's kind of a lot more softer. And I just don't see it nearly as a gem. To me, this is more accompaniment with maybe some sort of meal. Maybe if I put more sugar in it, it would be more jammy. But for me, this is more a sort of chutney type thing. You can also make ketchup with them. And if you are patient enough and boil it off long enough to get the right consistency, it's actually quite interesting. So the berries are out now still. So I do challenge you, try something. It's fantastic. The nature offers it, and berries are everywhere. So if you get yourself a little bag of them, nobody will worry. Ha! Now you three. I mean, you probably all know this because you are out in the nature, so it would be disappointing if I actually could see your faces and you all be going, yeah, we know it's edible, blah, blah, blah. Yes, so the red flesh, what we call the aril around the yuberry, is actually edible. So you can see it in here. So this is a yew tree from my garden, which I'm lucky enough. This one is giving me the berries. So inside is that black pit. You cannot eat that one. That's poisonous, and everything else on the tree is poisonous. But this gorgeous berry, mmm, mmm, it's so sweet. It's so nice. So if you are the few who didn't know this on this call, churchyards full of these. So try. This is a real push for lots of people because they have just been told the whole life how poisonous the whole tree and stay away, and they just wouldn't dare to even lick the flesh. But I hope that you are one of those brave people and will try, and it's just beautiful.
I tried. I tried at the talk and made sure I got the seed out, and it is really surprisingly sweet. It's really tasty flavor.
Excellent. I'm glad you tried. So now your next question is actually a joke, and you need to try to guess the next color by answering to this joke. So, how does a banana answer a phone call? Oh, tricky. Are we getting any answers?
Yellow. Oh, okay. You gotta get up early to catch my guys out. They said yellow.
Yeah, perfect. Yellow. So, yellow represents happiness and enlightenment. So, let's just make sure we do look at some yellow here. So, of course, yellows are dandelions. Everybody thinks they know dandelions. I'll test you in a minute how you know your dandelions, and I'm sure you do. But not everybody does, because most people just think anything yellow is a dandelion. Dandelions really appear the most at the start of the summer, and then they disappear. Dandelions do not like it when the daylight is more than 12 hours a day. So for those crazy people who run around the garden like mad, weeding, we have to get rid of the dandelions. They just wait, 3 weeks. If you are one of those people who are so busy you don't have time to worry about your weeding, the nature will worry for you. Eventually, they will just disappear. Yeah, the leaves might be still there, but nobody can see them. And then, when you are lucky enough to have dandelions flowering in your garden, just use them. They have so many uses. So it is a little laborious because, as you can see from the picture, you need to get the yellow petals. You hold them, cut the bottom, and then like tick the little bit of the green leaves still surrounding it, in order to end up with a nice just the petals in the bowl. And for example, for a wine, I think for a demijohn of wine you need about 4 pints of these petals. similar amounts you will need for the cordials and things. So that's a couple hundreds, if not thousand, of flowers you need to sit there and keep cutting. That's why people don't do it very often. But if they did, they would be a lot healthier, because as you can see, there is loads and lots of vitamins. Everybody's going on about dandelions and foraging, but it is really a superfood. So apart from all the A, K, E, C, B, you name it, all the vitamins, irons, calcium, potassium, magnesium, it really is a great plant. It's of course called pis de lit in French, which implies to its diuretic properties. It can actually be medicinal. So if you happen to have a urinary traction problem, drinking a tea from dandelion, just dried up flower, fresh flower, make yourself a tea, will wash out all the toxins out of your body much quicker, and therefore the healing process will happen. Of course, on dandelions, we don't have to eat just the flowers. We can eat roots if you forage for them in your own garden and really do not want to have any more dandelions. So, roots is one of them. Lots of people know about roots being good for the coffee. So, what would you expect a dandelion coffee to do for you? Do we have any answers? Will it wake me up like normal
Okay.
coffee? Will it just send me to toilet?
Carolyn thinks, yeah, it makes you need a wee.
Yeah.
Diuretic,
And the
diuretic.
other,
Okay, that's what
what
people
else do we
say.
have?
That's, yeah, everyone's saying that.
Yeah. Well, apart from that, I would expect my coffee to wake me up, but dandelion coffee will send you to sleep. Yeah, so it might taste like like coffee, smell like coffee, but it doesn't have for me the effect I need. I need my coffee to wake me up in the morning so I know what I'm doing. The stems itself, when you're foraging for dandelions, you very often accidentally take that lovely long stem. Don't discard it. Use it as a replacement for spaghetti. I find that if you boil the stems together with the water from lentils, it somehow removes the bitterness. You can also leave them overnight in a jar of water. It also helps a little bit to remove the bitterness. Uh, Another quite favorite one is before the flower opens, you end up with those little unopened buds. And they are quite lovely pickled. They remain sort of firm, have that lovely crunch to them. So when I bring them on the courses, that's another one which people who like pickle go like, oh yes, this is nice, and they always want some more. The leaves itself will kind of nearly always be bitter unless they are really really fresh and really really young. Sometimes people can grow them under the bucket, which does the trick, or you can grow them from the root at home. So if you have accidentally or deliberately rooted out your dandelion from your flower bed, keep the root. If you don't want to eat it or make coffee with it, keep the root, put it in a dark plastic bag, keep it in your cupboard for 2 weeks, take it out, and you will have those really lovely yellowish. Well, they're probably not lovely to look at, but they are lovely to eat. So they're very crunchy, zero bitterness. And this is what they sell in France in like a dandelion salad. You pay 40 euros just to have a dandelion salad, which you could have grown in your cupboard in 2 weeks. So the next thing is that quiz. So a quiz which will be timed and which will create a pressure on you. So I would like you to prepare your answer. You kind of know where your text boxes are.
Okay.
And
I'll
when
give
I
you a look.
show you the picture, I would like to know whether all these pictures are 100% underlines. But I will count 5 to 1, and then at 0, I want to see answers from everyone. And it's not a maybe, it's yes or no. Are we all ready?
Get your typing
Five,
fingers ready.
4, 3, 2, 1. Your answers now.
Okay. So Peter, no. Carolyn says no. Kim says yes. Tanya says yes. I say no. Gael says no. Brown says no. Sarah says no. Ben says no. John says no. Sandra says no. Diana says no.
Excellent. So most of the people would survive. That's really encouraging. And of course, in real life, you would see the whole plant, and hardly anybody who is used to being in nature would get confused. But you can see straight away, dandelions only grow one flower on one stem. So you can see several of these actually are kind of multiple flowers on the same stem. So immediately you know it's already a no. Of course, I try to trick people by putting the white dandelion in the seeds, which is a dandelion, which people often go, hooray. You have some hogbeet, which is actually not poisonous. Some of the hogbeet are actually okay to eat, but they are quite tricky to know which one is okay and which one will be bitter, but none of them will poison you. We have coltsfoot a little bit here, which is now classed as toxic. But all my life, my mother used to make me a sort of cough tea if I was ill with cough. That was the tea I had to drink, and I am still about. But now classed as toxic for eating. But I just would like to kind of demonstrate how easy is it to get confused if you are under some kind of pressure. And when you are a beginner, you never get poisoned. I know I say that there's enough of people who kind of eat whatever for whatever reason they don't even think, but I don't class that as kind of a responsible forager. But the people who really want to learn about what they can eat from the nature, they start by being careful. And they really identify what they are eating, double check, triple check, and then they try small amount, then they are more comfortable, they try bigger amount of the same thing, and it's fine. And those people will never get poisoned. When you are more at risk of actually getting poison is when your confidence is way high up and you stressed from work, you rushing. Very often even I go mushroom hunting after work when I finish. Well, I used to work. I finish at 5, rushed with the head torch in the woodland so I can still see some mushrooms. Of course, with the daylight fading away so quickly in September, October, you don't see properly. It's so easy to get confused. So these are the moments when you can make a mistake. So just keep that as a reminder as your confidence grow. Make sure your checking of what you're eating stays the same as it was at the beginning. So we have another quite tricky yellow mushroom, which everybody loves, so pretty much everybody, a chanterelle. So it's quite an interesting mushroom, very prized in, for example, in France. The key features of chanterelles are that these sort of gills are hardly gills. They sort of sometimes describe only as wrinkles. And you must actually cut this mushroom. So very often when people ask me, hey, can you identify this mushroom for me? And all they do is send me a picture like this, just just the head of something nondescript in nondescript environment. I can just about make out that it grows in the grass. Well, that's not good enough. So I already educated enough of the people, at least take a picture from below so I can see how the gills look like. But ideally, I need to see the stem shape. I need to see, you can see here, for example, that stem is a little bit tapering. You can see how the gills are running down the stem. So we call it decurrent. So all those are very important features, even, how the kind of cap is, whether it's enrolled, etc. So all this is very important when people trying to tell me, hey, what is it? Don't just send one picture. Describe properly the mushroom. How did it smell? Where did it grow? Exactly how did it feel on the touch, etc. And very often you also need to cut it. Is it discoloring somehow or not? And also in this particular case, you can see that the flesh is white. So white is lighter than what's on the outside. So it's different colors nearly. You can see that little bit of contour in the darker yellow. So the false chanterelle, which I will flick to in a second, does not show that differentiation. So if you're wondering which one is which, how should you remember when this woman stops talking for 5 minutes? Did she say white or not white? I'm sure lots of you still work or worked in the corporate environment and been forced through all sorts of corporate training about diversity, and diversification is good. So Diversity. It needs to be two colors, white inside, yellow on the outside. So for chanterelle, be enchanted, that will be the right thing. So that's a good thing how you can remember which way it's the right one. Here we have the example of the false chanterelle. There are other mushrooms which people sometimes call for chanterelle. So you can see, for example, the true gills. You can see how lovely they are forking, so regular, not just crinkles. But still they can end, so it looks fairly similar. It's sort of yellowish orangey. So if you are just a beginner, hui, hooray, I found a chanterelle. No, you need to cut it, and you can see the flesh. It's pretty much the same color as on the outside. So no diversification for chanterelle. It's a false chanterelle, and you are about to poison yourself if you eat this one. So that's our lovely yellow. And on that, let's jump into a gorse, a yellow flower, which again associated with sort of May Day celebrations, because there is not that much in the time of the year that people could have used. It's of course very pinchy, and most of the plant is poisonous, and you will know it's poisonous if you start going to forage for it. I mean, who goes foraging for gorse? Only me and my husband, and now few people who have tasted the gorgeous gorse wine. So I have recently had a talk for like 30 Women Institute people. They all said they liked it. So I am now building up the confidence that it's not just me who likes it. It really does makes a superb wine. You can of course make just a cordial if that's what rocks your boat. That's fine, but the wine ends up with gorgeous yellow colors, kind of absolutely clear, and the whole flower when you're collecting it, it sort of smells a little bit like coconut. Somebody says pineapple, somebody says coconut, but you can definitely feel that gorgeous sweet scent. It's of course very tricky to forage for gorse, because you go forage when it's cold and windy, and you kind of picking those flowers a little bit, and when the wind blows, all those thorns go right into your skin. And you know very well it's poisoning, because you kind of end up with all your skin being infected by the poison. But it is a gorgeous plant to forage for. Again, it's winter. There is not much else growing for the wildlife, but they keep flowering for a long period of time. So if you have a big patch, keep going around. You can dry them, and actually the wine will be better if you make it of the dry flowers until you have enough to make what you need. So coming to the end, really. So now you should be able to pick out what is our last color.
Okay, I'm going to guess pink.
Pink.
Yeah.
So every cloud has a pink lining.
Yeah, that's the same. Silver.
Silver, of course. Well, I would like to see your clouds, but you're right. Well, clouds probably have more pink lining than silver if you think about it. So, of course, our next color will be silver. But before we go to it, of course, that means that if you did not enjoy this talk, we are coming nearly to the end. And if you did enjoy, you can book me again, book me for your own event, come to our foraging courses. So our next color will be silver, the color of feminine energy, intuition, and subconsciousness. We do have few plants which are kind of silver-ish if you have imagination. We have silver wheat. It is now quite a lot of those leaves are around. It's supposed to officially attract a new lover for the young woman. I don't know whether that works, but it's definitely a plant for female sort of hormonal disbalances. So it can help you with irregular periods, muscle cramps, and all those things. You would forage for leaves, dry them, and then make an infusion. The reason why we call this plant silverweed, if you look at the bottom of the plant leaf, you can see how it's silver rather than just green. So even if you don't need a plant, it's nice to just look at it. Some people, of course, forage for food, forage for those little roots. So if you happen to be infested by them on your own land and you want to try them, they are kind of crispy, nutty. I've actually never tried because they don't grow on my land. So if you have too many of them and you're happy to share some with me, I would be delighted. But otherwise, I'm not allowed to forage for these in the wild. So it's just a reminder of that. Another thing is a tree which has the word silver in it, and of course, silver birch. So silver birch is kind of a magical tree for me because it has so many uses we kind of nearly forgot about. We can make tea from those leaves, and it has quite a lot of sort of anti-inflammatory properties. But we can also forage for sap in spring, and there is always a lot of kind of uproar, like, "Oh, sap, you killing the tree." Well, I have never yet killed a tree, and my parents are kind of foraging for this for the last 20 years, as far as I know. And actually, still, the trees they foraging from are still there, perfectly healthy. So there is lots of ways to tap the hole. Some people say don't tap the hole, let it naturally stop. So basically, the process is that you first drill the hole, ideally in one of the branches that goes a little bit sideways. You might get a better angle. And then you put a little hose in it, ideally clean, and then make it drip into some kind of container. So on your own land is ideal because nobody will steal it from you. If you have to do it in public, then you might need to use some chain so nobody can take it away from you. But try some tree which nobody can see, because people have all sorts of ideas what they could do with the container when they find it. So it takes time to drip, 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 drip. It is good time of the year to go and tap this. It's only about 3 weeks of the year, maybe a month. My mom, as you can see, kind of in my family, the foraging goes for generations. My mom observed that the best time is when the coltsfoot, which is one of those little yellow flowers, is flowering. So if you have those somewhere near the water, you can see that they are coming to flower. It also means the silver birch is now starting to run the sap. So you could drill it and there would be nothing running, which would be really a shame. So try to pick the right time of the year, get some liquid from it. It helps to cleanse the toxins out of your body after the winter. I had a person on my course, she had a lipodema. And she said that even after drinking a small amount, she already felt absolute relief from her illness. So she's now kind of gathering all her friends, uh, planning for next year where she can tap enough. You cannot store this for long unless you freeze it. So in the fridge it will last about 3 days, but you can freeze it and then defrost it whenever you want to eat it. When you finish, there are three things. You can either leave it to bleed, which I don't, but some people claim that that's the best thing. Then you could use beeswax, which on its own is also quite kind of antibacterial and medicinal. So you could tap it with the beeswax, and you could also tap it with its own branch, which is my preferred method if you can find the right branch size, because the tree itself is antibacterial, antiviral. So you actually, by using a branch, which also is antibacterial, you stopping the viruses and bacteria getting into that wound. It works for me. I have never killed a tree yet. But again, it's something I do probably more so I can bring it to the courses so people can try and taste it rather than going crazy. So I then freeze very tiny bottles and everybody gets a very little sip. But people are just happy that they tried something. Now, silver birch is kind of the tree I love because it keeps giving. On the silver birch, we then have a mushroom, this birch polypore. You must have all seen it. Now we had some rain, it's starting to pop up. So this polypore actually extracts some of the stuff from the tree and it's incredibly medicinal. So it's antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, anti-tumor, and actually I have this firsthand that it does helps against cancer. And then it's antiseptic, antifungal. Very often you don't find other mushrooms growing on the same tree. That's how it removes all the other fungi. So it really has so many powerful medicines. You can make something called tincture. So you start by chopping the mushroom in this sort of smaller pieces. Of course, you must find one that's fresh. Then you put it in a jar with vodka for about 3 weeks. That extracts some of the goodness from the alkaloids, which are basically dissolvable in alcohol. But then you reserve the alcohol, put water over the same mushroom, and again leave it about 3 weeks. After that, you put the two liquids together and store it in your fridge or wherever. So this is my birch polypore tincture. So when do I eat it? Well, you can apply it topically if, like me, you end up with skin cancer and it really shrivels it up. But it's also good if you're like feeling under the weather, you really want to shake away cold very quickly. Just a couple spoons and it does a magic. And if you don't believe me that you can use it that way, well, the people like Lucky Forest, who are actually selling these commercially, will tell you the same thing. So why buy it if you can have your own and the nature gives us? So on that note, I just say a few final words. As nature colors, bold and clear, feed and heal, bring us cheer. So thank you all. Any
Joe,
questions?
thank you so much, Joe. That was a wonderful talk, and the comments that people are saying, they're saying really interesting talk, inspiring talk, really interesting. Learned about lots of things from folklore, history, medicine. Thank you so much. Oh, just everybody loved it.
Oh,
So get
brilliant.
outside all through the year, Carolyn says. Diana says that was great. Thank you. Just we all yeah, thank you so much. And I will say, if any of you get chance to go on any of Joe's talks or you're coming into Leicestershire, I'd heartily recommend one of the guided walks or the foraging course with the food samples, especially. They're just excellent. So if you look at her website, if you Googled Charnwood Foraging, there'll be a whole host of things there, and we'll be certain to put the links to that in our next SWOG newsletter. Yeah, and please follow her on TikTok and on Facebook because the videos are very good. You're somewhat of an influencer in the in the foraging world. Um, oh, Brown says you are witty and enlightening. So I think you're an honorary SWOG member now, Joe. I think you found your people. I think you're definitely one of us. I think if anybody has any questions, if you'd like to email me, sarah@swog.org.uk, or just directly to joe@charnwoodforaging.co.uk, then please do email. But I will pass everything on because I'll be going to Joe's house soon anyway because I like going in a shed with all of her tinctures in. Okay.
Brilliant. And yeah, if anybody can do the reviews, apparently the more reviews we get, the more kind of Google knows where we are and where we live. So if you can snap the barcode, the last one is for the review. Uh, Give us some kind words, ideally. That would be better than giving us a horrible review. But any review supposedly will tell Google where we are and what we do.
Yeah, get that Google juice. And yeah, Carolyn says lock up your chocolates if I'm coming around your house. So yeah, that's a fair comment actually.
You are all more than welcome. And if you have woodland somewhere near Leicestershire, you want me to come and have a look what grows, some of those identification walks, let's just go around and see what treasures you have. I would be delighted.
Well, perhaps, Joe, I know that we've got members in this group that are neighbouring to my woodland. So I bet we could get a few of us together. We could make an afternoon of it.
Sounds like
You
a
know who
plan.
you are. So email me and we'll get that going. Right, everybody. Enjoy your tea. Joe, just final question. Are you having anything foraged in your tea tonight? I know you sneak things in so your husband doesn't know that it's all foraged.
Actually, I did. I had a chicken of the wood, and that's the one thing he does eat.
Very good.
So,
Very good. Well,
yeah,
bon
and
appetit,
that
everybody.
grows 50 meters from my house.
Yeah. Right. Bon appetit to the rest of you. And Gael asks if I do hope I'm saying your name right. Will the slides be distributed afterwards? Well, the video, we've made a video of this, and if you look for swog_UK on our YouTube channel, this will be uploaded by, well, probably by 10 p.m. tonight, to be quite honest with you. And Carolyn, says you are welcome to come and forage in the National Forest land anytime. So
Oh, bless you. Thank you. That's amazing. That's gorgeous. Thank you, Caroline. And I hope I'll see you soon.
I'll see you all soon. And Joe, I'll see you soon too. Take care, everybody. Thank you. Au revoir.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.